Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at a really strange paradox today.
Yeah.
Can extreme personal solitude, maybe even eccentricity, can that actually be the thing that saves the entire global financial system?
It sounds counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But picture this. Summer 1914, England. It's beautiful, seems totally tranquil. Everyone's on holiday
What's peaceful?
on the surface. But underneath, those shots fired between Austria and Serbia, they've kicked off this financial chain reaction across Europe.
Stock exchanges closing down.
Exactly. Paris, Berlin, Vienna, boom, boom, shutting down. And London, the absolute financial heart of the world back then, it's facing this massive test.
And the sources we're digging into today, they aren't just, dry history lessons.
Not at all.
Our mission here is really to pull out the sort of fundamental rules, the psychology, the social trust, the stuff operating underneath that crisis.
Because that's the key question, isn't it? When a system really shakes, is it the headlines about war? Or is it something deeper, like the panic spreading between people?
That gut-level fear.
It's absolutely about the fear. We're looking at how human psychology and specifically the reaction of one very, very particular man decided if global credit just vanished, poof, into thin air.
Right. Let's talk about that man, Montagu Norman, later governor of the Bank of England. The descriptions paint him as, well, odd. Definitely not your standard issue banker.
Not the clubby type, no.
He loved Brahms, apparently quoted Lao Tzu.
The ancient Chinese philosopher, yeah.
And even built his home to be dark and secluded, like a monastery, the sources say.
And you can't just wave that away as, oh, he's just a bit quirky.
No.
He clearly struggled, a lot of internal turmoil. What they described then sounded like, well, maybe manic depressive states, cyclical things.
So internally, quite fragile, unstable even.
By many accounts, yes.
Okay, so here's the real twist. The paradox. Europe is starting to crack open, right? External chaos everywhere.
Total mayhem brewing.
And this inwardly shaky guy gets pushed into this position of, well, ultimate responsibility.
He has to step up. He has to anchor the whole system. And the genius part, he saw it wasn't about logistics. It wasn't about moving gold bars around.
What was it about then?
Psychology. The fear. The problem wasn't a physical lack of gold in the vaults. It was the public's terror that they wouldn't be able to get their gold if they wanted it.
The classic bank-run fear, if everyone asks for their money at once.
The system breaks. Doesn't matter how much gold you actually have stashed away, it just collapses under the demand.
Okay, but give us the specifics. What was the actual financial situation that sparked this fear? What made London wobble so badly?
Well, the immediate market reaction was pretty brutal. Interest rates shot up to 10%. Just think about that.
10%. Just to get hold of gold.
Desperate measures.
Yeah.
But the real ticking time bomb was commercial debt. Because the European exchanges were closed, London couldn't settle its international bills. With Paris, Berlin,
So money was stuck.
completely frozen. All that commercial paper, those short-term loans businesses rely on for trade,
Yeah.
useless. Liquidity just dried up. The Treasury literally had to step in and say, okay, all these debts are extended by 1 month. Just like that.
Just to stop the merchant banks from going under.
From collapsing overnight.
Yes.
Yes, they were right on the edge, standing on the absolute brink.
And yet, there's this amazing detail, isn't there, about the queues outside the Bank of England itself.
Yes, it wasn't, screaming panic like you might imagine.
No riot.
The sources say it was characterized by deep concern, a very British, stiff upper lip kind of dread. Disciplined, but terrified underneath.
That fragile control, that was everything.
But it's the only thing holding the line. And that brings us right to the core insight, the big takeaway from this whole episode.
Which is?
Systems don't collapse because they lack stuff like gold. They collapse because they have too much fear, an excess of fear.
That distinction is crucial, isn't it? If credit is just a shared story, a belief.
Then fear spreading to the crowd literally makes that belief evaporate, like mist.
And the currency, the actual paper money?
It's just paper. Its value comes from the trust we place in it. Break that trust, and the paper is worthless. Maintain it.
And that piece of paper can hold up global civilization.
Sounds incredible, but yes.
Okay, wait a second, though. Are we saying that decades, centuries even, of banking laws, gold reserves, all that structure was less important than just one guy managing to seem calm?
At that critical tipping point, the sources really strongly suggest yes. The psychological anchor becomes the absolute key variable.
Wow.
And this is where Norman becomes so fascinating. That paradox again. Internally, he's weak, he's struggling.
Right.
But the intense, extreme pressure of leading the Bank of England at that moment,
Right.
it somehow calmed his internal storms.
How on earth does that work? Logically, that stress should have broken him.
It seems the crisis gave him this incredibly vital external purpose, a
Yeah.
role, and that sense of meaning, that massive responsibility.
It focused him.
It was so demanding, it basically forced structure onto his somewhat scattered internal self. The sources imply the sheer weight of the job gave him the stability he lacked personally.
He found stability because the system needed him to be stable.
Precisely. When everything depended on him holding steady.
That's an incredible psychological insight. The external crisis provided the internal structure.
Yeah.
So let's broaden this out. This isn't just about 1914 or gold. There must be some underlying principles here that apply today, right? Whether it's crypto or stocks or anything else.
Absolutely. We can pull out 3 core principles, psychological and social, that really govern market stability. Always have, always will.
Okay, what's the first one?
We call it the principle of collective expectations. Basically, the market is the sum total of what everyone imagines it to be.
It's a story we agree on.
Exactly. Value isn't some fixed thing. It's a shared story.
Right.
And if enough people suddenly start imagining something is worthless,
Poof. Value disappears almost overnight.
in days sometimes, when those imaginations sync up.
So fixing a crisis isn't just about pumping in money then?
Not primarily. It's about changing the story, rerouting those collective expectations.
How do you do that?
Through signals, policy announcements, opening liquidity windows, sure, but also, critically, through the language leaders use, consistent, honest, reassuring communication. You have to rewrite the shared story about the future.
Before the physical resources actually run out.
Exactly. Which leads straight into the second principle, the law of stress shaping.
Okay.
Extreme pressure is like the ultimate structural test. It doesn't just show cracks, it forces a kind of internal reorganization.
Like what happened with Norman?
Precisely. For him, that huge sense of meaning, that responsibility, it gave him an internal skeleton. For himself, you could say.
The weight of the job.
Transformed his internal chaos into outward competence. It's quite amazing.
It really shows that, someone might look strong on the outside, but they might not be able to handle the sheer gravity of real meaning, real responsibility.
Right. And sometimes that burden, that weight, can actually be the thing that grounds you, stabilizes you, if you let it shape your actions.
Which connects to the third principle. This feels like the core of Norman's approach.
It absolutely is. The necessity of solitude clarity.
Solitude clarity, meaning...
When the really tough decisions, the ones that often go against the crowd, against the panic, they have to be made alone, in a kind of vacuum.
So to save the crowd, you actually have to step away from the crowd's emotions.
You got it. Solitude here isn't about being lonely. It's like a laboratory for independent thought, for autonomy.
Okay.
A leader in a crisis needs to be able to withstand a high enough temperature of solitude, metaphorically speaking.
If you need the crowd's approval...
You'll just melt into the panic. You'll follow the consensus even if it's wrong. Yeah. And then you can't take the necessary, maybe unpopular action to save the system.
Okay, this makes perfect sense, and it brings us right to the practical side.
Yeah.
How does this apply to you listening right now?
Yeah, how do we use this?
How do we build our own personal standard of belief? Something inside us that's maybe stronger than gold reserves.
Well, looking back at Norman and the crisis, the sources point towards 5 sort of mental training exercises, practices you can use to handle your own crises, financial or otherwise.
Tools to become your own rhythm keeper.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, lay them on us. What's practice number 1? It sounds almost deceptively simple.
It does. It's breathe and name the fear.
Just name it. Why does that help?
Because when fear or anxiety is just this big, vague cloud hanging over you, it feels overwhelming, right? Formless.
Yeah, like a dread you can't pin down.
But the second you give it a specific name, I'm afraid of losing money, or I'm afraid of what my colleagues will think, or I fear losing control, suddenly it's not a cloud anymore.
It's a problem.
A specific problem you can start to tackle, not just this crushing feeling. It loses some of its power.
Okay, that makes sense. What's next? Number 2.
Number 2 is the dual scenario. Always have a plan A and a plan B.
With clear triggers for switching.
Yes, very important. Define thresholds. This is where discipline meets belief. Belief on its own can become delusion, right?
Right. Wishful thinking.
A dual scenario forces you beyond panic. You think ahead. If this specific thing happens, X, then I switch to plan B. Having that pre-planned escape route or alternative path Acts like a psychological shock absorber.
Keeps your belief grounded in
Yeah.
reality.
And defined limits. Yeah.
Okay, number 3, signal safety. This sounds like it's about how we interact with others.
It is. How do you become a source of stability in your own world? Your family, your team at work, your friends.
Ah,
By sending out clear, consistent signals regularly.
what kind of signals?
Transparency, being open about what's going on, including limitations. Having a consistent rhythm for communication, people know when they'll hear from you. Having clear rules of conduct.
It's not about big dramatic promises then.
Often, no.
Hmm.
We think one grand gesture will fix things, but actually, a steady stream of small, reliable, trustworthy signals builds far more stability over time. Consistency beats intensity here.
Interesting. Okay, number 4 links back directly to Norman. Directed solitude.
Yes. Making time, intentionally, for being alone with your thoughts. Purposeful isolation.
How much time are we talking?
Maybe just 20 minutes a day, but it has to be scheduled, intentional.
And what do you do in that time? Not just sit there.
No, not just scrolling social media. You could journal about recent decisions. Review your own thinking. Where might cognitive biases be creeping in? Or spend time defining or reaffirming your core values, what really matters.
So you build up that tolerance for solitude we talked about earlier.
Exactly. So you can think clearly when everyone else is panicking. You learn to hear your own internal rhythm above the noise.
Okay, powerful. And the last one, number 5,
Rituals of trust.
rituals, like habits.
Kind of. Small, specific, repeatable actions that anchor you and reinforce your stability. Maybe 3 to 5 of them.
Give us some examples.
Could be very practical, like having a specific risk checklist you always run through before a big financial decision. Or maybe more reflective, like having a go-to question you ask yourself in tough times. Something like, if the absolute worst thing happens here, who am I still?
Yeah, connecting to core identity.
Right. These little rituals reinforce who you are, separate from the external chaos.
Yeah.
They remind you that your core self isn't defined by market fluctuations or external events.
So wrapping this up, Montagu Norman, he saved the day, saved the global financial rhythm in 1914, not because he was some perfect hero figure,
Far from it.
but because he could somehow stand still
Yeah.
in the right place internally while everything else was just chaos and motion.
It really hammers home that core lesson, doesn't it? Finance runs on psychology.
Psychology runs on meaning.
And meaning, especially under pressure, needs a calm rhythm keeper, someone who holds steady.
When markets are going wild or life feels overwhelming, your ability to find that internal stillness, that's your most valuable asset.
Often the scarcest one, too.
So the challenge we want to leave you with is this. Can you become that rhythm keeper for your own circle?
Your family, your work team, maybe just your study group. Think about it.
When you consciously decide not to just reactively run from fear, you create breathing room, psychological space for others around you to maybe catch their breath, regain their footing.
And if you're feeling that anxiety now about markets, about life, don't just listen. Try these tools. Start today.
Pick one fear, name it.
Write down one simple dual scenario. Plan A, Plan B. What's the trigger point?
And schedule it. Put that 20 minutes of directed solitude in your calendar right now.
And maybe share this deep dive. Send it to someone you know who could use a rhythm keeper in their life right now.
Because you never know. Sometimes changing the rhythm in one small system being that point of calm, well, like London in 1914, it might just help stabilize a much bigger picture.